It's really funny that it says establishing. It sounds like it's something brand new, doesn't it? Like establishing these rights. Well, first of all, in the private sector, they really can't do any for or against establishing anything, simply because in the private sector unions, it's all governed by federal law. And I can go through the full litany of Labor Management Relations Act, Taft-Hartley, Disclosure Act, but let's not get into too much detail here. Just the fact is that labor law for the private sector is governed by federal law, and Michigan really can't do much to that. Now, the only thing they can do is give workers the right to say no to a union and still keep their jobs, or not. This could have a profound effect on government unions. Now, it's not going to establish really any new rights. Government unions are already protected by civil service, by para, by several laws that allow them to bargain with the government. What this would do is it would give union bosses a veto over past, present, and future laws. So when they say establishing rights, you know what that is? That's the right of a union boss to say, hey, your elected representative wrote this law, the legislature passed it, the governor signed it, we don't like it, so we're going to overrule it. That's what they're really talking about. They're protecting government union boss jobs. That's whose jobs they are protecting. Especially things like dues checkoff. We recently passed something which doesn't allow the government to be the dues collector for teachers' unions. Well, what this would do is it would say, well, we don't like that, and the government union bosses, they could overrule that. It could even overrule FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, and open meetings laws. Because, once again, those things are governed by law. And because every collective bargaining agreement would have the power of the Constitution, those collective bargaining agreements could overrule law. So even the collective bargaining agreement that says we don't want to disclose the information about this collective bargaining agreement, about what the union's getting, about even the school budget that taxpayers should be able to see, even those collective bargaining agreements could be secret if the union says, well, we don't like FOIA, we don't like open meetings, we don't want this thing on the books. You're speaking of transparency, that's where you really got to wonder. I challenge you to go right now to the Protect Our Jobs website and find the amendment language, the constitutional amendment language. They don't have it on there. They're not talking about what's in there. They're using this flowery language, but they're not getting into the details of what it actually will do because they don't want the citizens and the voters of Michigan to know that. It is massive, it is unwieldy, and it would fundamentally change the power structure in Michigan. To some public safety officers, like police and firefighters, it actually takes some of their privileges away. Public Act 312, for instance, gave them the ability to what's known as have binding arbitration. Binding arbitration is when a third-party bureaucrat would actually write the collective bargaining agreement if the government and the public safety officers came to an impasse with the union. Now, they have that because they give up the ability to strike, and that's the compromise. Now, in POJA, they still don't have the ability to strike. POJA specifically says that there cannot be strike, that the legislature would still govern strikes. But it says they don't have to come to an agreement. So now those public safety officers, those police, those firefighters who gave up the ability to strike for binding arbitration still can't strike, but do not get binding arbitration. So actually, because of POJA, those unions, those employees, those public safety officers, they're at a disadvantage.